Hello and welcome to my Murder in March interview. My name is D M Singh, right under the name D M Singh. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about my book, Regina the Monster Inside, which is involved in this year's Murder in March giveaway. So, hello and welcome. What we read about Regina is that she's very self-sacrificing and that she's very gung-ho about staying herself, about being, she's very loyal, she's very nice, she's a nice girl, she's good, she goes to school, she gets good grades, she's kind of perfect in a way, but at the same time she's a little bit weird. This is what we learn in the books, because her family move around, she never has friends, doesn't really know how to have friends, she never had a boyfriend, and she's nearly 16. So it's quite unusual. So she comes from this odd little family, this really insular, odd little family. So that's what we know about her. We get a little bit of a glimpse of her having a bit more fun when she gets to know Imogen and becomes friendly with her. So I think what we don't know about her is that she's quite fun-loving and she can be quite gregarious, but she doesn't get the chance to show that in the book, especially in the first book. We get a little bit of a glimpse of it when she starts to get to know other people as she goes through it, like Jay and Poppy, and she really shows how friendly she can be and how loyal she is and how fun she can be at times. But the reason you don't really get to know that too much in the book, I think, is the fact that she's got all these emotional bombshells that just keep dropping on her, like people dying and news about what she is, and secrets that keep coming out of the woodwork that keep hitting her. And I think there's just so much going on that all she can do is get through it and deal with it, and so we don't get to see that side of it. It would be nice for people to see that side from her. Maybe we will see. I think we see little glimpses of it, and maybe more of that will come through in the other books. Maybe not till towards the end, maybe, because it is quite fast paced and there's a lot of action and there's a lot of adventure, and you don't stop along your adventure when you're fighting a dragon, for example, and go hang out with your friends and go to a concert and things like that. So we don't really get to see that side of her. What you also don't get to know about Regina in the book, which a couple of readers know about because they've come to signings and talked to me about Regina and grilled me about where she comes from, is that she's a culmination of myself and my two daughters. She's really loyal, and she can be really serious, and she's always concerned with others, and she's always worried about other people, and she's always really concerned with doing the right thing, and she gets that from my youngest daughter. That's the character traits that she gets from my youngest daughter, and also a little bit of how she looks, and also my other daughter as well, a little bit how she looks. The fun side that we see little glimpses of, and the silly side that we see, she gets from my oldest daughter, who's very much like that. The glimpses that we see of Regina that are like me are more to do with little things like her taste in music, like we see her listening to Pearl Jam, and things like being excited about the fact that when she goes to the safe house she has some Doc Martens to wear. So she has like little bits and bats of everyone, so she's like a jigsaw person. Interesting fact. The short answer is, it's what I read, it's what I watch, it's what I go to the cinema and watch, it's what I play if I play on games. My whole family love this type of thing. We're all giant geeks on it, I guess you would call us. We all love Harry Potter, we all love Lord of the Rings, we all love Shannara Chronicles, we love things like Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars, Star Trek, And on the other on the other scale of things, it's, we love things like period dramas, Jane Austen, the Bronte sisters, things like that. So there's a big range, but I'm no Jane Austen. And people say, right, what you know, and I know fantasy, I know escapism, I know how exciting it can be as a reader, being an avid reader myself from a young age, that how exciting it is to enter a fantasy world and to have this great adventure. And I think that when I read, that's what I look for. I don't want to read a book, although, everyone reads their own genre, and, I don't want to read a book about someone a mum having a hard time and not being able to pay bills and things like that. That's too real for me. I would rather have something, have a mum who can't pay bills in the middle of it, but why can't she be a vampire? That would make it more exciting, I think. If you're immortal and could, had super strength, that would make you feel a bit better when you couldn't pay your bills, let's face it. So the long and short of it is, it's what I like, and it's fun. It's just fun. It's a tricky one. I love Regina, because obviously she's the main character, but has to be Aurora. Who doesn't like a villain? I think I like Aurora because she was really fun to write, with characters like Regina and Jay, and even to some degree Helena. You've kind of got these moral grey areas that you kind of think, oh, might have gone too far, and you kind of pull back. That character won't do that. Aurora is a complete nutjob, and she just does whatever she wants, says whatever she wants, and she's just a lot of fun. Not a fun person to meet in real life, but to write and to read about, she's a lot of fun. If I was going for my favourite character who wasn't crazy, it would probably have to be Gerald. If you've read the book, you know who Gerald is, and you know why I would pick him. He's fantastic. In fact, I think he's the only character who I have been told that if I kill him off in the second novel, people will get on aeroplanes, travel across the Atlantic, and give me a real good beating if I kill him off. They're not too concerned about the other ones, but if I get rid of Gerald, I'm basically dead to them. Which, it's lovely when readers get so attached to characters like that, but it's good to keep them guessing as well. I might have been a bit mean and hinted that I might kill him off, but I'm just messing with him. Maybe. This is a hard one because there are a lot. There are vampires, there are witches of different categories and varieties, and wizards of different categories and varieties, from changelings to healers to educators to guardians. We have dragons, we have unicorns, we have trolls, werewolves, giants. I don't know if I said giants. And then we've got Regina. I would love to be any of them, to be honest. Oh, nearly forgot. Elves. Can't forget the elves. Elves are quite popular with readers, actually. They love the elves and the nymphs. I don't think I would make a very good nymph or elf. they're quite colourful, they wear a lot of colours, and they seem quite glittery and chirpy and sparky. I don't know if I could pull that off very well. Witches, I would like the power. Wouldn't really like to be a unicorn or an ogre or a giant or a werewolf. Wouldn't want the fleas. I would definitely like to be a vampire, I think, if it was a choice between those things, and that's because immortality would be amazing. Not aging. Super strength, of course. And as those of you who've read my books know, vampires in my book can fly, so that's always handy to have when it's late at night and you need some milk from Tesco. Don't even bother starting the car, off you go. The blood drinking aspect of it won't bother me so much, I don't think, because I guess if you're a vampire, it's like having a sandwich, I guess. And also, you don't need to kill people, so I will be fine with that. So yeah, vampire for the win. I've got to be careful not to talk too much about this because I don't want to give any spoilers away, and also don't get me started on my next book because, you know, feel free to stop me talking at any point. There's a pause button somewhere around on your computer. Okay. Right, so the next instalment of Regina has just had the cover revealed. What can you tell us about what's next for Regina? The short version, once more, is lots and lots of exciting stuff. Not too pleasant stuff for some people. Not really good stuff for anyone, to be honest, but it is the darkness. This book was a bit of a challenge because those of you who've read the first book know that Regina ends up going into the darkness. And she goes into the darkness with quite a few friends in tow to try and save Jay. Now, this posed a bit of a challenge because we have half of my characters that are in the mortal realm and half of them that are in the darkness. So my choice was either write 2 books, one that was totally about the darkness and then one that was about Thomas and Shiva and the rest of the people left behind in the resistance, or split book. So I decided to split it, write it as 2 stories and alongside each other but interlocking with each other, if that makes sense. So what I've done is you've got one chapter of the darkness, next chapter the resistance, one chapter of the darkness, one chapter of the resistance, but they run alongside each other and they make sense together. So that was quite difficult to do. So what I had to do was write one story first and then the other story, so I didn't get lost, and then make sure that they all matched up. It's exciting stuff on both sides because in the darkness, obviously, we've got the whole challenge of Regina trying to find Jay. She makes some discoveries about certain things over there that I can't really talk about. We get some new characters in there which I was quite excited to write. We have Alexander, a vampire. We have Davina and Baby, which I'm not going to tell you what they are because that will be a nice surprise for you. They are, and also Gabby. All 4 of these were characters named after readers who entered the photobomb competition, and I was initially worried how I would work them into the story, and they've worked out so well. In fact, I added a couple more characters that I wasn't even thinking about, which I'm not going to mention. I'll just let you find them for yourself, but they're a bit twisted and weird and I love them. More mayhem, more disaster, more tragedy, lovely, but also lots of adventure. Dragons. Some horrible things called the Lost that kind of turn up and try and kill everybody. They're really nasty. They're not very nice at all. So on the one side of the darkness, I told you I'd go on a bit. So on the other side, on the darkness, we have Regina and her merry band of friends who are basically trying to find their way through the darkness, figuring out what to do, how to get back home, but how to get Jay and hopefully Helena, if possible, because she's a bit evil, and then get back home. And then on the other side of things, we have Thomas and Shiva, who are left with Eli Masters, who is the head of the Council of Elders, who was a big fan of Helena and didn't realise what she was up to. And they've got this whole thing of, how do we explain to him what's happened? How do we get him to realise that Helena wasn't what she said she was, and that Regina is actually good, and kind of bring the magical community back together. Which sounds like really boring, like they're having a town council meeting, but it kind of turns vicious and goes into all-out war, as these things generally do. And so that, I thought that might be quite boring to write compared to the darkness, and that ended up being really exciting, because when I start to type sometimes I'm like, no, they're just walking into a room, they're going to talk, no, one's out, we're all going to kill each other. So that was quite exciting, seeing where my head would take me. I think it's I don't know if I should say it, but I think it's better than the first book in ways. The first book is my first book, so in that way it will always be my favourite. But this one, I think, has got more meat to it. It's faster paced. It's jumping from one thing to another. I think poor Regina's head is spinning around even more so in this one than the first one, if that's even possible. It's got... I'm really sorry, because, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are like, I didn't see that coming. That was a massive plot twist. Why would you do that? There's a few of those. Quite a few of those. So I apologise in advance. And I don't apologise for any of the deaths in them, because if they're in there, tough. They needed to go. I'm just kidding. But I'm not hinting at how many people have died this time. A lot of people are asked. Not telling you. I will say book 3, Bloodbath. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you, C.S. Woolley, for those lovely questions and the trip down memory lane with Regina the Monster Inside today. Up for grabs from me for Murder in March is a chance to win an ebook of Regina the Monster Inside by myself. Also up for grabs, a far more exciting prize, if I do say so myself, is the chance to be in the final book of my trilogy, which will be out in 2017, which is Regina, Demons from the Ashes. So a chance to be killed off in this spectacular fashion, which is brilliant. So thank you for listening, and have a lovely murderous match.